Ramdev, welcome you all to another episode of Yar Pro Academy. Before starting the today's subject content, let us have a prayer. Prabhavam Nidhanam Vatina Vibhuvam Koi Bhavanti. This means this prayer is picked up from Ramayana, page 199. This means that none of us know from where we have come, where we are going, what is our origin. Nothing we know. We lead our life in this beautiful world and go away. So we can't imagine where we are, what we are doing. Many times it is a very complex situation. Now, today's subject, as I told you, the content, what we are going to discuss, is nothing directly related to our industry. However, it has affected the entire humanity. So it becomes important for us to understand what that particular kind of a situation which made each one of us into a situation where we are very vulnerable. So today's subject, I have named it, I coined it as the VUCA world enigma, the 9 coronavirus pandemic 19. So there are two words which has got related. That is, one is VUCA world and coronavirus. So it becomes important for us to understand what is a VUCA world. Does anybody know what is a VUCA world? VUCA world, when I say it is an acronym of that VUCA. VUCA is not a word. It is a combination of 4 distinct words, each letter representing that particular word. It indicates that particular word. For example, V stands for one word, U stands for one word, C stands for one word, A stands for one word. Now, rather, I could say not as a word, I could say that as a situation. These are all 4 situations which most of us many times encounter, we come across. Might be at times it might be combination of all the 4 situations, or sometimes it might be individual situation. But it's a common for every human being. At some point of the time or the other, they are bound to they normally get into this situation. So it becomes very important when we get into this situation, how do we tide over that situation? So this particular content, what I'm looking at, we will be covering in 2 parts. Today, let us understand what is VUCA world. I think all of you know what is a fantasy world. I hope nobody is there who doesn't know fantasy world. We think of a lot of beautiful things. We dream of a lot of beautiful things. So those kind of things becomes a fantasy world, a fairy tale kind of a thing. Then we also know what is competitive world. What exactly competitive world? We are always rather day in, day out in competition with something or the other. So it becomes, we are aware what exactly, we are always preparing ourselves for the competition so that we can be successful. So we know about competitive world. Now the question comes, what is VUCA world? So let me try to explain that. V, the first letter V stands for vulnerable, vulnerability, volatile, vulnerable situation, volatile situation. Imagine, for example, to understand that better, a ship which has got into high tides and the weather is very rough on the high seas. The ship is rocking. No guarantee, in spite of all the gadgets what are there, whether the ship will reach the shore safely or not. So such a situation is known as vulnerable, where the human controls becomes limited, becomes very less. You don't have any, in spite of best of technology, you may not be able to control things. So that situation, what we call as vulnerable or a volatile situation, that stands for VUCA word, first letter V. Then U, uncertain situation. There might be situation where we don't know what happens, what is the next stage, in the next moment, what is going to happen. So you are very uncertain. If there is a fire in a building, although you are trying to extinguish, you may not know what is going to happen. So that is the next U, uncertain situation. U, which the second letter of VUCA word, U represent. C, complexity. There will be situation will be complex, whether I do it, whether I not do it, whether this is the right thing to do, whether I do this job, will it be completed in the fashion what I want, or it is going to not perform well. So that becomes complexity, the situation which is very complex. You don't understand what's supposed to be done, what is right, what is wrong. That is the situation known as complexity. So the last word is ambiguity. You don't know which is right, which is wrong. There is an ambiguity between your thought process. You can't make a clear understanding what exactly is the right. Somebody is telling something, whether to accept it, whether not to accept it, sometimes becomes difficult. So that is known as ambiguity. So this VUCA word, V, volatility, vulnerability, U, uncertainty, C, complexity, A, ambiguity. So combination of this becomes VUCA word. So this is the understanding of VUCA word, which in many situations it is used, very widely used. So this applies to the situation of this pandemic, coronavirus 19, which we'll be dealing in the next episode, part 2 of this, continuation of this particular this episode. So thank you. As usually I keep saying that please do share all your informations, your feedbacks, your comments, so that we can together jointly keep improving this particular series what we have started. At the same time, please, when are you commenting anything or giving suggestion, please go by the guidelines of this particular our site. Please don't comment anything which is not supposed to be done. In case if it is done, we will delete it, and if it is repeatedly done, we may delete the person's membership as well. So why we are saying like this is basically because we want to keep this particular web very clean, and so that it becomes a kind of a useful thing to the entire community. With that background, we have been telling this. So thank you again. Let us meet in the part 2. So as I usually conclude my session, I be safe, keep smiling.